Hey YouTubers, I'm Jacob and this is a how-to video for installing a Mishimoto transmission cooler for a 2015 F-150 and newer with the 6R80 transmission. We've been traveling full-time now for about 3 months, and one thing that we've really ran into towing through the mountains with a half-ton is the transmission's getting hot, especially on mountain passes.
Here's a list of materials and tools you will need to complete this project.
Okay, so due to the location of where the transmission cooler is in front of the radiator, we got quite a bit to remove to get to this. So these new model trucks, the grille doesn't open up like the old ones did, and it has active shutters, so we're gonna have quite a bit to remove. I've also got this light bar under warranty. Nylite warranted their product on condensation getting in the light bar, and we use this quite a bit. That way I should be able to free up more space behind the grill here, so I can get that out a little bit easier. I'll actually show you where this cooler is. I may need to open the hood to see it, but it is this smaller cooler here in front of the radiator, and it only runs about half the width of the grill. We got Mishimoto aftermarket transmission cooler. Bought it from Stage 3 Motorsports. I'll include a link in the description here. We're using Mercron LV. This is what's rated for this 6R80 transmission that's in this truck with the full lockout, towing, and sport mode. We're also going to install this inline filter after the new radiator is installed, just to prevent any kind of possible manufacturing material or whatever we're disturbing in line to get caught before it goes back to the transmission pan. If I see any discoloration, I'm actually going to use this pump to put new fluid in. He grabbed some tubing here that I'm going to use to try to siphon some of the old fluid out to check, and if it's bad, I've got plenty of fluid to refill. Okay, for this next portion, I'm going to be taking off this whole shroud so that we can get to this area and take the grill off. We're going to be using some molding tools, so like some, car panel tools to be able to pop these off without damaging them. Makes it much easier. Then I believe we'll be kind of prying this off to get in there to release some more bolts so we can just lift it up and out. All right, so there's a little bitty hole in there, a slot you got to get between to pop these out. Don't drop them down into the snorkel here, that wouldn't be good. Oh no! Like that. Sure, we'll find it. Okay, so there's one more pop cap cover right here. A little hard to do one-handed. Okay, so we might be able to pull this off without actually taking off the snorkel like I originally thought. But we have it all undone now, so I'm going to take that off. This off. All right, now we're going to continue taking these off so I can get back behind here. So I have removed all the snap covers and peeled back this paneling around the light. There's some snaps here, and there's several bolts we'll see back in here. I'll need a pretty good extension for us, and then up here as well. Several across the top. These are 8mm. Okay, so there's another bolt that we're going to remove. Holds that bottom edge in. There's one over here as well. Well, maybe there's something else here. Okay, I think it's these snaps right here, hidden on the inside. Probably would be easier if I totally took these off, but the way they're in the fender, I don't really want to. All right, I'm gonna pop these off and then see if I can lift it out. There's also a lower snap there. So I just kind of rolled this back. It's on each side. So I'm gonna unclip. This is for the active shutters, I believe. This one's pretty buggy. There we go. Okay, I got it off. So I lifted it out, and sure enough, it was, there's 1, 2, 3 of those snaps holding it in on the outside there. 2 and 3. And then this one up here I took off. Probably wasn't necessary, but at least we can get back in here better. All right, now I'll be able to redo this electrical a little bit better, get way better access to it for my lighting. Next step is to drain the transmission cooler, and then we'll unbolt it here and take that off so that we can install the new one. I get this one off too. I'm gonna use Tim's compressor and blow my radiator out as good as I can because it's super dirty. Lots of stuff in there, rock strikes, whatever, bugs. All right, I got the first one off. Man, that was a lot of fun. It's just barely dripping out. So I'm gonna see if I can get another pan and catch this other side. Oh, this side's way better. This hot side in and just melted to it. All right, so now that I got that all cleaned up, I'm gonna go ahead and clean up my electrical and make sure my cube lights work with my T-tap. I might put this in some conduit if I can, and I won't bore you with all of that electrical work, and we'll jump back in once that's done to install the new cooler. Okay, so here's a quick comparison of the size cooler difference. I mean, it's taller, it's definitely longer. Much bigger, more robust. So this will actually run the full length of the front of the truck. And I mean, with how beefy that is, the difference, I don't see us overheating after this. It's quite a bit larger. It's gonna be a huge improvement. Now I have already put the brackets on here and they're kind of like loosely fit. I'm gonna loosen them up a little bit more. And then next I will put on the cooler and just get it kind of test fit and snug up. And then we'll mount the hoses. I'm also going to see if I can do part of this inline filter somewhere in this area so that I'm not having to cut into the line somewhere down the road. All right, so we got everything hooked up here. Got our hoses connected, electrical cleaned up. Put our inline filter here, just a Ford unit for after the cooler to make sure to catch anything that manufacturing material or just disturbance in the piping. So it looks good. We're actually gonna spray this down and clean off my radiator before we close it up, so that tomorrow we'll button it up and it'll be ready to roll. So per Tim's suggestion, which I think is a great idea, he recommended we spray off all the bugs that are on the radiator or AC condenser here. And then it's with Simple Green, right? You mixed it with?
No, this is just purple degreaser stuff.
Okay.
Same stuff,
And we'll let it sit, and then we'll spray it off and let it dry overnight. Come back tomorrow and put the grill back on and finish it up. We just started it up and tested, no leaks. I don't think the transmission cooler kicks on until a certain temperature, but everything looks to be good and operational, so we're just doing some last minute cleanup before we button it back up.
I'm super pumped to test this thing out. It looks really good, so much bigger than the original, and just the difference in cleaning all the electrical up. Like, I'm so glad I finally got around to doing that. I couldn't get to it with the grill on when we installed the bumper.
Let's start with the ducting, just getting all that back in place, snapped in, and then I'll be able to drop the grill back in place, start attaching the screws to secure it, and then push back in the molding and the snap covers for all the trim. Got everything buttoned back up, put back together, and you can still kind of see it in there. Really cool. Stands out a little bit more. But you can see how possibly my light bar was blocking some flow compared to, you know, not having it on there. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll just see how this cooler works without it and then test it with it too. I just started the truck to try to warm the transmission fluid up before I drain it out after I've installed the new cooler, and I noticed the check engine light came on. This is the number 1 P0073. This is number 2 U0284. To clear DTCs, press Y. Keep an exit, press N. Now that'd be like if you want to take it to a dealer and so they can see it, but otherwise I'm going to clear it. Clearing DTCs, to exit program, press N. So we're going to exit. Disconnect programmer. Okay, and you can actually see the check engine light has now disappeared. First, I'm going to check the transmission temp. I was trying to warm it up here so I can siphon it out and then refill with fresh fluid. All right, so we're up to 118. I think normal running temp's 119, so what it normally warms it up to, minimum temperature. So I think we're good to shut it off. So now that we have that all squared away, trouble codes reset, we're gonna go ahead and siphon out the old transmission fluid that is old and dark. Well, it's not old actually, it just got hot, and that's why we're installing this new transmission cooler. So I'm gonna get underneath the truck, and this may be a little messy. I'm gonna get some gloves on, definitely eye protection, and go ahead and try and get the old fluid out and put some new fluid in. All right, so this is pretty hard to get a camera to, but I just wanted to show you before I get going on this. These are the coolant lines for the transmission right here. They're underneath the motor. This is on the passenger side, so you can kind of see. They run up. Now, the one on top of the transmission is the return. The bottom one goes to the cooler. And the dipstick is this bolt right up here.
It's a 19 millimeter, and it's probably easiest to use a wrench to get it off just because of how tight it is up there. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off, and then I'm gonna try the larger tube so we can make this go faster and siphon it out into my catch pan here and just get as much out as we can. Might have left this a little loose from when I checked it earlier. Before I do this, it looks like a little is drained out already. That's probably because it's warm. Watch out, this exhaust is really hot. I'm not sure if this is actually supposed to be disconnected like this or not, but it makes it really difficult to check the fluid level. And I'm going to wrap this up, keep it protected. This tubing should work. Sweet. So I got fit on the bottom of the pan there. Okay, so I've got this pump Tim got me. A little homemade thing. Pretty cool. I'm going to use, well, I already did, brake cleaner. I ran it through this to clean it out. I'm actually going to use this to try to siphon the rest out of there. And then I'm going to fill it. More coming out. Now it's really flowing. Alright, looks like that may be all of it. Alright, I'm gonna get out and try and clean this hose off before I put new fluid in.
Okay, this was the verdict of changing out the transmission fluid, and dang, I am glad I decided to. That is not good. 230, 220 degree temperatures while towing through the mountains. High mountain passes, halfway across the country, full time on the road. So I had this done right before we left Kansas City, and this is only, I think, around 7,000 miles, maybe 6. So not good. I'm gonna rinse these hoses off. I just sprayed brake cleaner in there, get them all cleaned up. I'm also going to dump this stuff into the empty bottles just so I can keep track of exactly how much I took out of the truck. So I just poured a little bit into a pan so we can see the difference. That's the color it should be. I know this is green, but that's the color it was. So it looks like a lot of possibly even metal shavings in there. Not good. So hopefully this cooler will help out with the transmission quite a bit. And then we'll put this new fluid in there and take it for a test drive and then check the fluid level again. Okay, so I just filled up 2, so there's enough for 3 to go in. So I'm gonna fill up 1 more. I think I'm gonna check the fluid level now, see where it's at. There's still a little more in the pan, so I think I can add more, and then definitely with the radiator. So I may check it and then turn it on, see if I can get it to kind of redistribute around and then add more back in. There it goes. Pretty close. That's why you wear safety glasses. Okay, so I just took it for a test drive and everything seemed to be running just fine. So I'm gonna check the fluid level again. I didn't go too far, but I did drive some roads where I could get some good, elevation up and down. Try to get it dispersed in there, and only drove about 60 miles an hour, got up around 170 range. And then I'm gonna check it again here, top it off as needed. And then I'm going to take it on a longer drive today, more highway cruising, where it might heat up to the point where it will activate the cooler, and then I may need to check it 1 more time again tomorrow just to make sure everything is good. So that's my how-to video. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a little bit different for this setup with my bumper and all, but every application is going to be slightly different, even with the different motors on this truck. Please like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more content.